Listen to me very carefully. The life you are currently living, the financial anxiety that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., the relentless, gnawing feeling that you are running on a treadmill that only moves faster while you get more tired, none of this is an accident. It is a masterpiece of social engineering. Every single morning across the United States, from the suburbs of New Jersey to the high-rises of Chicago and the sprawl of Los Angeles, millions of Americans wake up to an alarm clock they despise. They drag themselves out of bed, pour a cup of overpriced coffee, and sit in gridlock traffic for an hour only to arrive at a building where they trade the absolute best, most energetic hours of their fleeting lives for a piece of paper called a paycheck. Now, I know exactly what the Wall Street defenders will say. I can hear them screaming through the screen. They will say, "But wait, you pay the 2% fee because our expert fund managers are going to pick the best stocks and beat the market. We will get you a 12% or 15% return, so the fee pays for itself." This is the second great lie. It is the myth of the active manager. They sell you the illusion that there is a genius in a skyscraper who can predict the future. They run television commercials with soaring music, showing analysts staring at complex graphs, giving you the impression that they have secret information you don't have. It is brilliant advertising, but it is pure fiction. Let us look at the cold, hard data. Wall Street hates this data, but the numbers do not lie. Standard & Poor's releases a report every year called the SPIVA Scorecard. It tracks the performance of active fund managers against the basic index. Over a 15-year period, what percentage of highly paid, Ivy League-educated professional fund managers do you think actually beat the S&P 500 index? 50%? 30%? No. Over 90% of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat the simple, unmanaged index. Let me repeat that so it sinks into your bones. 9 out of 10 financial experts who are charging you massive fees perform worse than a piece of paper that simply owns all 500 companies and does absolutely nothing. Why do they lose? It is not because they are stupid. It is because of the cost matters hypothesis. It costs a fortune to run an active mutual fund. They have to pay the million-dollar salaries of the managers. They have to pay for the glossy brochures, the television commercials, and the mahogany desks. They constantly buy and sell stocks, which generates massive trading costs and tax bills. Before fees, investing is a zero-sum game. But after fees, active trading is a loser's game. You are paying a premium price for a product that is mathematically guaranteed to underperform over the long run. This is why John Bogle is considered a hero to the American middle class. He looked at the 2% silent assassin and said, "No more." When he created the index fund, he completely removed the highly paid managers. He removed the constant buying and selling. He removed the glossy advertising budget. By doing this, he slashed the expense ratio from 2% down to 0.04%. By lowering the cost of investing to the absolute floor, Bogle guaranteed that the everyday investor would capture their fair share of the market's return. He took the $1.2 million that Wall Street was planning to steal from you, and he put it right back into your retirement account. So, what is your action step today? I want you to open your 401k, your IRA, or your brokerage account. I want you to look at the funds you currently own. Look for a term called the expense ratio, or ER. If your expense ratio is 1%, 1.5%, or 2%, you are bleeding out. You are funding someone else's yacht. You need to fire that fund immediately and migrate your money into a low-cost, broad market index fund, or ETF. Look for expense ratios that are under 0.10%. Stop paying for the illusion of expertise and start keeping the money that belongs to you. You have just leveled up. You now have the engine, compound interest. You have the vehicle, the S&P 500. And you now have the shield, low expense ratios. You have officially made yourself immune to the predators of Wall Street. But do not close your notebook yet. We're not finished. Wall Street is not the only entity that wants a piece of your hockey stick curve. There is another silent assassin, one that is even more powerful, completely unavoidable, and armed with the full backing of the United States government. I am talking about the IRS. I am talking about taxes. If you build your $2.8 million empire in the wrong type of account, the government is going to step in at the end of your life and take a massive, devastating slice of your fortune. But if you know the rules of the game, if you understand the legal loopholes designed for wealth creation in America, you can build an impenetrable fortress around your money. You can ensure that every single dime you pull out in retirement is 100% tax-free. In Part 4 of this masterclass, we are going to dive into the American Wealth Shields. We are going to decode the secrets of the 401k and the ultimate wealth hack of the middle class, the Roth IRA. If this chapter opened your eyes, hit the like button right now. Subscribe to the John C. Bogle Mindset channel and hit the bell. I want you to go down to the comments right now and type, "I will not pay the toll." Claim your wealth. Defend your legacy. We have eliminated the Wall Street middleman. You have slashed your expense ratios to near zero. Your money is now securely planted in the fertile soil of the American economy, compounding day after day inside a broad market S&P 500 index fund. You have built the engine, and you have stopped the leak of management fees. But if you build this magnificent $2.8 million financial empire inside a standard, everyday taxable brokerage account, you are leaving the front gate of your castle wide open for the single largest expense of your entire life. You are leaving yourself exposed to the second assassin, the Internal Revenue Service. Taxes are the friction that slows down the eighth wonder of the world. In a standard brokerage account, every single time your Vanguard index fund pays you a dividend, the government steps in and takes a cut. Every time the fund automatically rebalances, or if you ever need to sell a share, the government steps in to collect capital gains tax. And when you finally reach retirement age and begin pulling out $100,000 or $150,000 a year to live the life of freedom you earned, the IRS will treat that withdrawal as income, potentially taxing it at a massive rate. Over a 40-year investing horizon, this constant tax drag does not just cost you the taxes paid, it costs you the exponential compound interest that those tax dollars would have earned had they stayed in your account. Just like the 2% Wall Street fee we destroyed in the last chapter, an unoptimized tax strategy can easily cannibalize hundreds of thousands of dollars from your final net worth. But here is the secret that the wealthy understand. The United States Tax Code is not just a list of rules about how the government takes your money. It is actually a rule book on how to legally protect your money, provided you play the game exactly the way the government wants you to play it. The government wants you to invest. They want you to fund your own retirement so that you do not become a burden on the state. To incentivize this, they have created completely legal, highly protected environments where your money can grow without the constant drag of taxation. I call these the American Wealth Shields. If you want to become the person who attracts and keeps generational wealth, you must build your empire inside these fortresses. The foundation of your tax-free fortress begins at your workplace. If you are an American worker, there is a very high probability that your employer offers a 401k retirement plan. A 401k is a tax-advantaged account, meaning the money you put into it goes in before the government calculates your income tax for the year. If you make $60,000 a year and you put $5,000 into a traditional 401k, the IRS pretends you only made $55,000. You instantly pay less in taxes today, and that full $5,000 gets to compound completely tax-deferred for decades. But the true magic of the 401k is not just the tax deduction, it is the employer match. In the financial world, there is a famous saying, "There is no such thing as a free lunch." The employer match is the one and only exception to that rule. It is the greatest legal wealth hack in the entire American financial system. Here is how it works. Many employers will offer to match your 401k contributions up to a certain percentage of your salary, usually around 3% to 5%. Let us assume you make $60,000 a year and your company offers a 5% match. That 5% equals $3,000. If you set up your automatic payroll deduction to invest $3,000 of your own money into your 401k over the course of the year, your employer will literally deposit another $3,000 of their money into your account. I want you to write this down in your notebook and underline it twice. An employer match is an immediate, guaranteed 100% return on your investment. Think about that. You cannot get a guaranteed 100% return anywhere else on earth. Not in real estate, not in crypto, not in the stock market. But you can get it from your HR department. If you invest $3,000, it instantly becomes $6,000. And then, that $6,000 begins to compound exponentially inside your John Bogle approved index funds for the next 30 years. If your company offers a match and you are not contributing enough to get every single penny of it, you are making a catastrophic financial mistake. You are voluntarily taking a pay cut. You are leaving free money on the table. Money that, with the power of compound interest, would literally be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you retire. Capturing the full employer match is step one of the Boglehead wealth architecture. But once you have captured that free money, we do not put the rest of our savings into the 401k just yet. We pivot. We move to the absolute crown jewel of the American tax code. In 1997, a senator named William Roth championed a piece of legislation that created a new type of individual retirement account. It was brilliantly simple, but it fundamentally changed the mathematics of wealth accumulation for the middle class. To understand the power of the Roth IRA, you have to understand the analogy of the seed and the harvest. With a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, the government gives you a tax break today on the seed you plant. But 40 years from now, when you have grown a massive field of crops, the government is going to tax you heavily on the entire harvest when you pull it out. The Roth IRA flips the equation upside down. With a Roth IRA, you do not get a tax deduction today. You fund the account with after-tax dollars. The money you put into a Roth has already been taxed from your paycheck. You are paying taxes on the tiny seed today. But in exchange for paying taxes on the seed, the government makes you an incredible promise. You will never, ever pay taxes on the harvest. Let us go back to our $500 a month example. You open a Roth IRA at a low-cost brokerage like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Over 40 years, you diligently contribute your $500 a month. As we calculated, your total lifetime contribution, your seed, is $240,000. Because you harnessed the eighth wonder of the world and invested in the S&P 500, that $240,000 grows to $2.8 million. That means you have generated over $2.5 million in pure compounding profit. If that money was in a standard account, the capital gains taxes on $2.5 million of profit would be financially devastating. It could easily wipe out $300,000, $400,000, or more of your wealth, depending on future tax brackets. But because you built your empire inside the fortress of a Roth IRA, when you turn 59.5 years old, you can withdraw that entire $2.8 million completely, 100% legally tax-free. If you want to pull out $150,000 a year to travel the world, pay for your grandchildren's college, and live in absolute luxury, you do not owe the IRS a single penny on that growth. It is the ultimate wealth shield. It allows your compound interest to grow in a complete vacuum, completely insulated from the friction of taxation. It is the most powerful tool the everyday American has to build multi-generational wealth without the government acting as an uninvited partner in their success. You now possess all the mechanical pieces of the John Bogle mindset. You have the engine, compound interest, the vehicle, low-cost S&P 500 index funds, and the shields, the 401k, and the Roth IRA. But how do we put them together? What is the exact step-by-step blueprint you should execute the moment you receive your next paycheck? Write this order of operations in your notebook. This is the exact sequence of wealth. Step 1. The match. Log into your employer's 401k portal. Find out exactly what percentage they match and set your automatic contribution to hit that exact number. Do not contribute a single percent more than the match at this stage. We just want the free money. Once the money is in there, make sure it is actually invested in a low-cost S&P 500 or total stock market index fund, not just sitting in a cash settlement fund. Step 2. The high-interest debt purge. Before you go any further, you must eliminate any credit card debt or personal loans with interest rates above 7% or 8%. Credit card debt is reverse compound interest. It is the eighth wonder of the world working against you. You cannot out-invest a 24% credit card interest rate. Pay it off aggressively and permanently cut up the cards if you cannot pay the balance in full every month. Step 3. The Roth Fortress. Once you are getting your 401k match and your toxic debt is gone, direct every single extra dollar of your investing budget into your Roth IRA, up to the annual legal maximum. Automate this. Set it to pull from your checking account the day after you get paid. Buy your Vanguard index funds, reinvest the dividends, and let it grow tax-free. Step 4. Maximize the 401k. If you are highly disciplined and you have successfully maxed out your Roth IRA for the year, and you still have money left over that you want to invest, you go back to your employer's 401k. You increase your contribution percentage above the match, aiming to eventually hit the annual legal maximum for the 401k as well. This is the system. It is elegant, it is mathematically flawless, and it requires zero day trading, zero chart reading, and zero financial news. You set the architecture up once, you automate the transfers, and you get back to living your life, knowing that your invisible army is fighting for you inside an impenetrable, tax-free fortress. The mechanics of wealth are now completely in your hands. If human beings were perfectly rational robots, this masterclass would end right here. You would set up your accounts, buy the haystack, wait 40 years, and retire as a multimillionaire. But we are not robots. We are deeply emotional, deeply flawed creatures driven by millions of years of evolutionary survival instincts. You have built the perfect ship, but the ocean of the stock market is not always calm. What happens when the sky turns black? What happens when a global pandemic hits or a housing market collapses and you log into your Vanguard account only to see that your $100,000 portfolio has violently dropped to $60,000 in a matter of weeks? The math will not save you in that moment. Your intellect will not save you. The talking heads on television will be screaming that the American economy is over. Your friends will be selling everything and hoarding cash. The fear will grip your chest, and your brain will scream at you to hit the sell button to stop the bleeding. The system you have built is indestructible from the outside, but it can be completely destroyed from the inside in a single afternoon of panic. In the next chapter, we are going to leave the spreadsheets behind and enter the darkest, most difficult part of the John Bogle philosophy. We are going to prepare you for the psychological warfare of market crashes. We are going to teach you the ultimate superpower of the wealthy, the ironclad discipline of stay the course. Part 5. the psychology of panic, and the iron discipline of stay the course. You have the perfect architecture. You have built a flawless compounding machine inside an impenetrable tax-free fortress. If you were a computer program, a line of code, or a perfectly rational robot, your journey to multi-generational wealth would be completely guaranteed from this moment forward. You would simply execute the algorithm, wait 40 years, and retire as a multi-millionaire. But you are not a robot. You are a human being. And that is the single greatest risk to your financial empire. We are deeply emotional, beautifully flawed creatures driven by millions of years of evolutionary survival instincts. Your brain was not designed to trade index funds on a digital screen. Your brain was designed to keep you alive on the savannah. It is wired to detect threats, react to fear, and run from danger. This brings us to the most difficult, the most brutal, and the most essential chapter of the John Bogle mindset. This is the chapter where 90% of amateur investors completely destroy their own lives. Because building the perfect ship is easy when the ocean is calm. But the stock market is not a calm ocean. It is a violent, unpredictable force of nature. What happens when the sky turns black? What happens when a global pandemic hits, a housing market collapses, or a war breaks out, and you log into your Vanguard account only to see that the $100,000 you worked so hard to save has violently dropped to $60,000 in a matter of 14 days? The math will not save you in that moment. Your intellect will not save you. Because when your portfolio bleeds, you will feel it physically. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, will hijack your nervous system. Your heart rate will elevate, cortisol will flood your veins, and every evolutionary instinct you possess will scream at you to hit the sell button to stop the pain. You will want to run for the cave. If you do not master the psychological warfare I am about to explain, your own mind will become the ultimate assassin of your wealth.
To survive the inevitable stock market crashes, you must first understand the ecosystem that feeds on them. When the market starts to drop, I want you to pay very close attention to the financial news networks, the online articles, and the social media algorithms. The media in the United States does not exist to make you wealthy. The media exists to sell advertising slots. And in the business of human attention, nothing sells better than absolute terror. If it bleeds, it leads. When the S&P 500 drops 10% or 20%, the television screens will turn bright red. They will bring out experts who will look directly into the camera and tell you that this time is different. They will tell you that the American economy is fundamentally broken. They will say the dollar is collapsing, that the system is ending, and that you need to liquidate your entire 401k and buy gold immediately. They will create an echo chamber of despair. Your co-workers will be whispering by the coffee machine about how much money they lost. Your friends will be posting panicked messages online. The atmosphere will feel like the end of the world. You must understand that this panic is a manufactured product. Wall Street and the financial media use your biological fear against you. When you panic and sell your index funds at the absolute bottom of a crash, who do you think is buying them? The wealthy are buying them. The institutional investors are buying them. They use the media to shake the weak hands out of the market, and they scoop up the greatest companies in America at a massive, generational discount. The transfer of wealth during a market crash always flows in one direction, From the impatient, terrified middle class to the patient, disciplined elite, you have to decide, right here and right now, which side of that transaction you are going to be on. Let us look at the reality of history, because history is the only true antidote to panic. Imagine you were a disciple of the Bogle mindset in the year 2000. You had been diligently investing your $500 a month. Suddenly, the dot-com bubble bursts. The technology sector completely collapses. Trillions of dollars of wealth evaporate into thin air. The media tells you the internet was a fad, and the economy is ruined. If you panicked and sold, you locked in a devastating loss. But what if you didn't sell? What if you kept your head down, ignored the screaming televisions, and kept buying? By 2007, the market had completely recovered and reached new all-time highs. Your patience was rewarded. But then, the ultimate crucible arrived. The great financial crisis of 2008. This was not just a stock market dip. This was a structural collapse of the global banking system. Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. Millions of Americans lost their homes, their jobs, and their life savings. The S&P 500 lost over 50% of its value. Half of your wealth gone. The smartest economists in the world went on television and said we were entering a second Great Depression. The fear was palpable. It felt like the end of capitalism itself. Millions of people logged into their retirement accounts and clicked sell. They took whatever money they had left and stuffed it into low-yield savings accounts or under their mattresses. They let the fear win. But the true Boglehead, the rational, stoic investor, did something entirely different. They looked at the 50% drop, and they did not see the end of the world. They saw the greatest Black Friday sale in the history of the United States. They recognized that Apple was still selling iPhones. Microsoft was still selling software. Johnson & Johnson was still selling medicine. The intrinsic value of American innovation had not vanished. Only the temporary price tag had changed. The disciplined investor did not sell a single share. In fact, if they had extra cash, they bought more. They bought the haystack while it was on fire, knowing that the fire would eventually burn out, and the soil would be more fertile than ever. And what happened? From the ashes of 2009 to the peak of the 2020s, the S&P 500 went on the greatest, longest, most explosive bull run in financial history. Those who panicked in 2008 permanently destroyed their retirement. Those who stayed the course became multi-millionaires. And we saw it happen all over again in March 2020 during the global pandemic. The market crashed 30% in a matter of days. The world literally shut down. The panic was deafening. But within 6 months, the market had completely recovered and was surging to new astronomical highs.
In life, we are taught that when we face a crisis, we must take action. If your house is on fire, you run. If a car is swerving toward you, you jump out of the way. We believe that doing something is always better than doing nothing. But in the realm of passive investing, action is your greatest enemy. John Bogle had a famous saying that completely reverses our natural human instinct. He said, "Don't do something, just stand there." When the market drops 500 points in a single day, the absolute smartest, most profitable, and most difficult financial maneuver you can possibly execute is to do absolutely nothing. Do not check your portfolio. Do not read the financial news. Do not listen to the talking heads. Go outside, take a walk, read a book, play with your children. You must adopt the mindset of a Stoic philosopher. You must accept that volatility is not a penalty, it is the price of admission. The 10% historical average return of the stock market is not given to you for free. It is your compensation for having the emotional fortitude to endure the terrifying drops without flinching. When you set up your automated $500 monthly investment, you are dollar cost averaging. This means that when the market is at an all-time high, your $500 buys fewer shares. But when the market crashes and everyone else is crying, your automatic $500 is suddenly buying more shares at a massive discount. Your system is inherently designed to buy low and sell high. But it only works if you keep your hands off the steering wheel. You must separate your emotions from your money. You must view the stock market not as a casino where you place bets, but as an unbreakable long-term partnership with the relentless engine of human progress. The United States economy has survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, presidential assassinations, hyperinflation, the Cold War, and global pandemics. It has a 100% historical success rate of recovering and reaching new heights. Betting against it in a moment of panic is the most foolish wager you can possibly make. If you can master this psychology, you are untouchable. If you can watch your net worth drop by 6 figures on a Tuesday and still sleep peacefully on Tuesday night, you have truly become the person who attracts and keeps generational wealth. You have beaten the system. You have beaten Wall Street. And most importantly, you have beaten yourself. But what is the end game? We have talked about the accumulation of wealth. We have talked about the math, the taxes, and the psychology. But eventually, the 40 years will pass. The snowball will become a mountain. You will look at your Vanguard account and see that $2.8 million sitting there, safe inside its tax-free fortress. What happens on that day? How do you actually turn that digital number on a screen into a life of absolute, uncompromising freedom? How do you transition from building the machine to finally living off its output without the fear of ever running out of money before you die? In the 6th and final chapter of this masterclass, we are going to unlock the vault. We are going to discuss the ultimate finish line of the John Bogle mindset. We are going to break down the Trinity Study, the legendary 4% rule, and the true meaning of financial independence and early retirement. We are going to teach you how to finally buy back your time. Prepare yourself for the conclusion of our journey.
You have built the engine. You have eliminated the Wall Street parasites. You have constructed an impenetrable, tax-free fortress. And most importantly, you have conquered the greatest enemy of all, your own mind. You survived the market crashes, you ignored the screaming televisions, and you held the line when everyone else was running for the exits. Now the decades have passed. The snowballs you pushed down the hill in your 20s and 30s have triggered a massive financial avalanche. You open your Vanguard account, and there it is. The mathematical reality we calculated in Part 2 is no longer just a theory in a notebook. It is a physical, undeniable fact staring back at you from the screen. $2.8 million. But a number on a screen is just digital ink. It has no pulse. It has no warmth. Having $2.8 million sitting in a database does not mean anything unless you know exactly how to safely transform that capital into the ultimate prize: absolute, uncompromising freedom. How do you actually transition from the accumulation phase, where you are aggressively saving and investing, to the distribution phase? How do you quit your job, hand in your resignation letter, and start living off your investments without the terrifying fear that you might run out of money before you die? This is where the John Bogle mindset crosses the finish line. This is where we introduce the holy grail of retirement mathematics, the Trinity Study, and the legendary 4% rule. Listen to me very carefully. The math I am about to show you is the exact formula that the wealthiest families in America use to ensure their money lasts forever. If you master this final piece of the puzzle, you will never have to work for another human being for the rest of your natural life. In 1998, 3 brilliant professors of finance at Trinity University decided to answer the most anxiety-inducing question in personal finance. How much money can I safely withdraw from my portfolio every year, adjusted for inflation, without ever going broke? They ran massive historical simulations. They looked at the stock market going all the way back to the 1920s. They tested portfolios through the Great Depression, World War II, the stagflation of the 1970s, and every major economic disaster of the 20th century. They discovered a mathematical safe harbor. They found that if you have a diversified portfolio heavily invested in the S&P 500, you can safely withdraw 4% of your total portfolio value in your first year of retirement, and then adjust that exact dollar amount for inflation every single year thereafter for 30 years or more, with a near 100% success rate of never running out of money. In fact, in most of their historical simulations, because compound interest is so powerful, the retirees ended up with more money at the end of 30 years than they had when they started, even while pulling out cash every single month. Let us apply the 4% rule to your fortress. You have $2.8 million safely sitting inside your Roth IRA. What is 4% of $2.8 million? It is $112,000 a year. Think about that number. Every single year, your invisible army of American companies generates enough dividends and growth to hand you a $112,000 salary. You do not have to commute. You do not have to answer to a boss. You do not have to ask for permission to take a vacation. And because you built this wealth inside a Roth IRA, as we discussed in Part 4, that $112,000 is 100% tax-free. In the United States, earning $112,000 tax-free is the equivalent of a corporate salary of nearly $150,000 a year before taxes. You have successfully replaced a 6-figure executive income, but you have done it using capital, not your physical labor. You have officially beaten the game of capitalism.
I need to pause right here and speak directly to your soul. If your mind is racing right now, if you are looking at that $112,000 a year and realizing for the very first time that financial freedom is actually within your reach, you are experiencing the Great Awakening. But inspiration without constant reinforcement is completely useless. The world outside of this video is designed to drag you back to sleep. The moment this video ends, the algorithm is going to try to show you a video of a celebrity, a sports highlight, or a luxury car review. The Matrix wants you distracted.
The matrix wants you to forget the math you just learned. If you do not want to fall back to sleep, you must curate the information that enters your brain. Hit the subscribe button right now. Turn on the notification bell. Drop a like on this video to lock in your commitment. You need a mentor in your ear every single week, reminding you to stay the course, reminding you to ignore the noise, and reminding you to buy the haystack. If you do not subscribe to this mindset today, I promise you, in 6 months, you will be back to living paycheck to paycheck, wondering where all your money went. Do not let the fire die. Subscribe now, and let's finish building your empire. Now, the traditional model assumes you invest $500 a month and retire at 65. But what if you don't want to wait until you are 65? What if you want to be free at 50, or 45, or even 40? This is where the John Bogle mindset intersects with the F.I.R.E. movement. Financial independence, retire early. The math of the 4% rule works exactly the same no matter how old you are. Your freedom number is simply your annual expenses multiplied by 25. If you can live a beautiful, fulfilling life on $60,000 a year, your freedom number is $1.5 million. $60,000 times 25. The day your Vanguard account hits $1.5 million, you are officially, mathematically, free. How do you get there faster? You attack the equation from both sides. First, you relentlessly defend your savings rate. You stop buying status symbols. You drive the reliable, paid-off car. You live in a comfortable home, not a McMansion designed to impress your neighbors. Second, you exponentially increase your active income. You do not just rely on your 9-to-5 salary. You start a side business. You learn high-income skills. You build digital assets. You demand raises. And every single time your income goes up, you do not upgrade your lifestyle. You take 100% of that new extra money and you ruthlessly funnel it directly into your S&P 500 index funds. If you can increase your income and invest $1,500, $2,000, or $3,000 a month, you do not have to wait 40 years. You condense the timeline. You force the eighth wonder of the world to work in overdrive. You can literally shave decades off your mandatory working life. You can buy back your youth. And that brings us to the ultimate philosophical conclusion of everything John C. Bogle stood for. Why do we do this? Why do we track expense ratios, maximize our Roth IRAs, and stay the course through terrifying economic recessions? Is it just to die with the highest score in our bank accounts? Is it to hoard digital numbers on a screen? Absolutely not. Money, at its core, is nothing more than stored energy. When you go to work and do something you do not want to do, you are trading your finite life energy for money. Therefore, true wealth is not the ability to buy a Ferrari. True wealth is the ability to buy back your Tuesday mornings. True wealth is waking up when you are finished sleeping, not when an alarm clock tells you to. It is the ability to walk into the office of a toxic, disrespectful boss, place a resignation letter on their desk, and walk out the door with a smile on your face, knowing that your index funds will deposit your salary into your checking account on the first of the month, every single month, forever. It is the power to be present for your children, to watch them grow up, not through a screen from a cubicle, but right there in the living room. It is the freedom to pursue your true passions, whether that is writing a book, starting a charity, traveling the globe, or simply sitting on your porch in complete, undisturbed peace. Wall Street wants you to think money is about status. John Bogle taught us that money is about sovereignty. It is about becoming the absolute master of your own destiny.
We have reached the end of the masterclass. The blueprint is now entirely in your hands. You know the illusion. You know the math. You know the exact funds. You know the tax shields. You know the psychology. But knowledge without execution is just entertainment. 9 out of 10 people who reach this exact minute of the video have already realized that their entire financial trajectory has just shifted. They feel the weight of their financial stress lifting. They have already smashed the like button, and they have already hit subscribe because they know that joining this community is the very first step of their new life. They are the 10% who will actually escape the matrix. But there is always that one person. That one person who watches a masterclass like this, feels a brief spark of motivation, and then clicks away. They don't subscribe. They don't leave a comment. Tomorrow morning, they will wake up to the same alarm clock, drive the same commute, and continue making Wall Street rich while their own family's legacy rots away. They will choose the comfort of their chains over the discipline of freedom. Which one are you? If you are ready to claim your sovereignty, if you refuse to be farmed by the system for one more day, I want you to prove it. Hit the subscribe button right now. Turn on the notifications. Let the algorithm know that you are no longer a consumer. You are an owner. Scroll down to the comment section right now and type these 4 words as a public contract with yourself. I bought my time. The stock market is waiting. Your future self is begging you to take action. Build the engine. Shield the fortress. Stay the course. Welcome to the John C. Bogle Mindset. Your new life begins today.